Welcome to Secret Story, Part 2 coming soon. I arrived at the airport with no flight reservation. God, I had to get to Chicago, my home, to save my 4-day-old marriage. What had I done? I had been so stupid. How could I have done this to my new husband, the man I love, and our very short marriage? I started to cry as I stood in line for a ticket. One of the senior airline attendants came to me as people watched me coming unglued. "Ma'am, are you okay?" I looked at her, the sadness in my eyes told her, "No. Come with me, let me see if I can help you." The attendant took my arm, guiding me through a door behind the counter. It was a small office. The attendant sat me down and handed me a tissue. "Ma'am, please pull yourself together. Tell me how I can help." I took a deep breath, looked down, and swallowed hard. I have made the biggest mistake of my whole life. Then I told her a modified story about our major argument. My husband left me in the middle of the night, and I have to get back to Chicago ASAP to try to save my marriage. I was sobbing all through the brief lie. "Okay, ma'am, let me see what I can do here." She pulled out her laptop. Looking at my return ticket, she started to type. "Ma'am, I see your husband's flight is about to land in Chicago. The next flight is in 2 hours and will get you home in 6 hours. That is the best I can do, but I can upgrade you to first class. You can go to the crown room while you wait and will have a comfortable flight. I hope that you can work things out at home." I thanked her. She took my suitcase, gave me my ticket, and sent me down the concourse to security. I cleared security, found the lounge, and settled in a corner seat. I had 2 hours before my flight. I was so confused and lost, and I needed to use this and the flight time to try and figure out what to do. I knew I had made a horrible mistake in my young life and probably the biggest mistake I could ever make. How could I have done what I did? How did I ignore my husband and let 6 black? God, I was on my honeymoon. How did that happen? My tears started again. They dripped off my face into my lap. I was sitting at a corner table, out of the way so that no one would pay attention to me. Just then, my phone buzzed. Thank God, it was a text from Johnny. Johnny's text: "I have landed. Stacy, do not come home. Go to your parents or girlfriend anywhere, but do not come home. I need time to think about what you have done, forgetting I existed. I must decide if I can ever love you after that. I will say I do still love you. That is my dilemma. Oh my God, what can I do? There is nothing to say. I was such a true slut, but I loved every minute. I came so many times I lost count. I trying to clean myself. I brushed my teeth 3 times and gargled half a bottle of scope. Trying to remove their taste from my mouth. My text: "Oh Johnny, I am so ashamed, I love you so much, but I know you don't believe that, after what I did. I can't explain what happened. I admit to everything and do not know how to make this right. All I know is that I love you, and please do not throw me away. We can work through this. Oh God, how stupid I was. Please, please let me come home. I need you. I love you, please, I beg you, baby, let me come home." I sat staring at my phone, praying for the right response. It didn't come, and nothing did. No reply. My flight was finally called. I got to the plane and entered first class. I was offered champagne but declined. I had nothing to celebrate. Quite the opposite. A matronly woman was sitting beside me on the aisle. I rested my head against the cabin wall with my eyes closed. Tears trickled down my cheeks, and I felt like I could die. I heard a whisper: "Miss, are you okay?" I sat up and looked at her, wiping my eyes on my sleeve. "No, not really, but there is nothing I can do about it right now." Just then, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Johnny. I dreaded opening it, but I had to read it. Johnny's text: "Stacy, you have created a major mess. I am confused about how I feel and what I should do. I love you, Stacy, more than I should at this point. I am so hurt I do not think I can face you now. I need some time to think things through. I believe you need that too. I know one thing for sure immediately, you need to be tested for STDs and take a double dose of the morning after pill. We will have no until you are proven clean, and only then, if I decide, can I stay with you. So, no, you cannot come home. I know you can't go to your parents or girlfriends, which would worsen things. I have booked you at the Hilton Airport for a week. We will know where this is going by that time. Text me when you land. I dropped my phone on my lap, covered my face, and sobbed into my hands. Tears were flooding out as I began to shake. The woman beside me put her arm around me, stroking my head. Darling, it will all be okay. I heard her heart beating in her chest. I slowly started to breathe. My crying stopped. I lay against her, feeling her love and compassion, something I needed right then but did not deserve. I sat up and looked at her. Thank you. You don't even know me. Oh yes, I do, not your name, but I know you and what has happened. It happened to me many years ago. Maybe not the same thing, but it had the same results. I thought it strange that I would randomly sit by this woman. I looked at her with a question on my face. What do you mean? How can you know what I have done? There were announcements on the PA as the plane started moving down the runway. I sat back in my comfortable first-class seat as we lifted off with a roar. And the landing gear retracted into the bottom of the plane that I closed my eyes, trying to clear the pain from my head. The plane soared into the air and settled out. I opened my eyes as the attendant asked, "Would you like a mimosa, ma'am?" I took one off the tray. The lady took off another one for me and two for herself. She turned to me. I think we will need these to get through our little talk, don't you think? I bit my lip as I nodded my head, wondering what our talk would be like. Could I admit to this stranger what I had done? My name is Miriam West, and your name is? Saint Stacy Hauser. Nice to meet you, Miriam. Nice to meet you, Stacy Hauser. I managed to smile. The attendant appeared with a tray of appetizers. We each took a plate, and she moved on. That I had calmed now. I was hungry, so I snacked on the items on the plate. Miriam did as well. Then she spoke. Stacy, what has made you so upset? I finished chewing a celery stick and gulped a mouthful of mimosa. I looked down, ashamed that I even had this story to tell. Then, for the next few minutes, I told Miriam the story of what had happened since my wedding day. I was so ashamed I could not look at her as I talked that I finished, slumped back in my chair, and started to cry softly. That I sniveled, "Miriam, there is no way Johnny and I can recover. He hates me for what I did, and I don't blame him. I hate myself for doing it. It was like an unconscious thing." I paused. What am I going to do? Stacy, let me tell you what is going to happen. But first I need to tell you something that happened to me, so you will believe what I tell you. 29 years ago, I was married to Harry West. He was the dream man in my life. We met and dated briefly and knew we were in love. We married in just 6 months. Our families were not happy, but we didn't care. We were in love. We were young and broke, so our honeymoon was at the Red Roof Inn in Memphis on a trip to Graceland. That was all we needed. Harry and I had been making love for a few months, but that was all my experience, except for a couple of young guys who knew nothing and were bad lovers. They always came too quickly. Harry always satisfied me. I was happy and was not looking for anything more. I had my dream, man. We would be together forever. We moved in with my parents. We both worked and did well, saving money. Harry was a salesman, a good one. He was promoted and received bonuses allowing us to rent our first home. It was good because we quickly had a little one on the way. The next 9 months were normal. Then we had a baby girl, Susan. A cute little blonde angel. We all fit nicely in our little rented house. 11 months later, Harry Jr. arrived, and we decided 2 was enough, so I was fixed having my tubes tied. We decided we would take the honeymoon we never took when we were married on our 2nd anniversary. We wanted sun and fun, so we decided on Jamaica. We looked at many resorts and decided to be daring and go to hedonism. We knew the resort's reputation, had discussed it, and decided we could expand our experiences and learn more about ourselves and how far we could go. That created a challenge for us because it was a place, and we had no idea what would happen. That surprised Harry, but not me, and I had secretly changed our reservation to that side without telling him. It was a surprise that turned out to be dangerous and almost destroyed us. We checked in and loved our room. "Miriam, what are you doing?" "I want them all to, and hopefully, they will cheer us. That is why we came here. To challenge ourselves and do things we have never done." "Okay. I guess." Harry looked at me. Suddenly, 20 people were looking up at us. "God, Harry, they are watching us, baby." "Oh God, yes." I screamed, not thinking about our audience. Suddenly, they were all whistling and hooting. I felt Harry's surge. So, he liked the audience, which made me happy. I knew we were in for a rough time, and I hoped Harry could handle all of it. It was incredible. Finally, the band of watchers dispersed, and Harry pulled me up. Miriam stopped and drank her mimosa, sitting back and thinking about that time. "Miriam, what happened that almost destroyed you?" Miriam looked at me. "I am guessing, the same thing that happened to you." That night, after we ate and had met some new people, we went for a walk on the beach. It was beautiful and romantic. We stopped and made out in the dunes but waited for more till we got back to our room. I was in a constant state of arousal. We found 2 chairs at a table with the people we had met at dinner. I pulled him to the dance floor. We finally went back and sat with our new friends. They were a little older than us and extremely attractive, from Alabama. We had a drink. A slow tune came on, and the man Don asked Harry if I could dance with him. Harry looked at me, and I smiled, so I nodded at Don. When Don stood up, I almost fainted. I looked at May, his wife. She smiled at me and knew what I felt. Don was a little taller than Harry. As we danced, he whispered, "Miriam, are you?" I looked up at him, but before I could answer. And I was so overcome I could not push him away. All thoughts of Harry vanished, and I was in the moment. When the song ended, I looked over at the table. May was in deep conversation with Harry. Thank God she was distracting him. As we returned to the table, Don asked again, "Miriam, you didn't answer." I looked up. Don stopped us about 10 feet from the table. I whispered, "Not yet." As the kiss broke, I looked at the table, and Harry was staring at us. The look on his face told me everything. Shock, disgust, fear, anger, and a great deal of jealousy. I knew I had made a big mistake. As we got to the table, another slow tune started. May quickly pulled Harry onto the dance floor before he could say anything. It was a good thing, and I felt there could have been an ugly moment before he left. He explained that they came here twice a year, no holds barred. They could do whatever they wanted with whoever they wanted, no questions asked. No jealousy or anger, just fun and games. If possible, they preferred to pair up with a couple for several days. As we talked, I watched Harry and May. She was working on him. I was surprised at my reaction, and it turned me on seeing Harry with May. No one spoke, so Harry said, "It has been fun with you tonight. We need to get back to our room and get some sleep. We can meet for breakfast tomorrow at about 10 a.m. Everyone agreed. We all stood and hugged. As he turned toward me, he did not look at me. We walked away toward our room, and there was silence between us, no talking along the way. I was worried he was mad at me or thought I was mad at him. We opened the door to our room. I reached down. I said nothing as I led him to the rumpled up bed. Harry smiled, "I know you wanted on too, don't you? Stacy, sleeping only when exhausted. We finally slept a couple of hours until the sun blasted in through the open drapes. The whole night had been incredible. We lay together cuddling in silence. It was one of the most beautiful bonding moments we had ever had in all our years together. I could see the joy in Miriam's eyes as she told me this part of her story. She loved Harry very much. Then I saw a change in her demeanor as she started again. Harry, we are supposed to meet Dawn and May at 10 for breakfast. You have a scuba lesson at noon. How long is that? We will go to breakfast. Then I will go to my scuba lesson. There is a planned pair dive on a shipwreck about an hour away. That will be over about nightfall, they said, and we will be back about 7:30 in time for dinner and that lingerie party tonight. You will be gone that long. What should I do while you are gone? I will go to the beach for a while after breakfast. Then go to the spa for some treatments at 3 p.m. I'll come back here and nap and get ready for you tonight. I'll meet you here when you get back. We agreed and went to the shower. Our vacation was unbelievable. Breakfast was fun. We agreed to meet Dawn and May for dinner and the party. Harry went off to scuba class, so I went to the beach to work on my tan under the hot sun. Miriam stopped and looked down, thinking. Stacy, this is when everything went wrong. What happened, Miriam? Tell me, please, God, I need to know, and what did you do to fix it? Miriam took another swallow of her mimosa, ordered another, and looked at me. There was sadness in her eyes. Stacy, I went to the beach to the sun. I picked a lounger away from the crowd and lay down on my front. A cute cabana boy came over, offering to put sunscreen on me. I didn't want to burn. He left and came back with a tray of oil and a drink. Ma'am, drink this, relax, and Jerome will take care of you. Then he was gone. I lay there for a few minutes, then ran into the surf, washing myself off. I played in the water and then walked down the beach. It was close to lunchtime, and I saw a small hut beside the dunes and stopped there. It was a small restaurant, so I went inside. There were many natives inside, mostly men but a couple of women that I ordered some jerk chicken and a red stripe beer, sat and ate. I was given my check. And I realized I had no money. I told them I was staying at the resort and could get money and bring it back. That didn't sit well with the owner, man. He told me I had to pay one way or the other before I could leave. That I didn't know what that meant, so I asked him, and he sent a woman to me. Miss, you do bad, not paying. You need to work it off now on your back. I was shocked at what she said. What do you mean? You need to these boys for your bill. I looked around the room. I was suddenly afraid. What had I gotten myself into? I looked around, and 8 young black Jamaican men were in the room. How many? All, them missy. They all, oh, no, I can't do that, I can come back with the money. No, missy, you lost that chance. She nodded her head, and 2 of the men came to me. They took me into a room in the rear of the building with a bed and some chairs. Stacy, it would take a couple of hours to tell you about that experience, but I think you already know what it was like from your experience last night. When they were done with me, and I had paid my bill, I could barely walk. I scrambled to my feet, and 2 guys helped me get back to the resort. They got me to my floor and left me in the elevator. I stumbled to my door, leaning against it, banging on it. The door flew open, and there was Harry, bug-eyed, looking at me barely standing. I began to sob as soon as I saw him. I had no idea how to explain what had happened, and I only prayed that Harry would understand. I stepped into the room on very shaky legs. There was no doubt about what I had been doing. Harry didn't know who or how many. I fell on the bed. Harry's eyes locked onto mine. He looked me in the eye, and his expression was dead. He turned and walked out of the room, slamming the door. I hadn't the strength to go after him. I laid there sobbing, knowing I was in serious trouble. Harry was gone, but where? The night passed, and I must have fallen asleep. Morning came, and I was still alone. I could still barely walk. My body had been ravaged. I went to the shower, cleaned up, and dressed. As I came out of the bathroom, I saw a note. I was afraid to read it, but I opened and read it. Miriam, I cannot be around you right now, so I have gone home. You should come home when you get yourself together. I will be waiting to learn what you have done. That was never our plan, so you have overstepped every boundary imaginable. I am very confused right now and need time. If you follow me home, do not expect a happy welcome because there will not be one. I will be waiting if you want to try to work things out, Harry. I looked in the closet and drawers. Harry's clothes were gone, so there was no trace of his existence. I fell to the floor sobbing. What had I done? Had I destroyed my life with Harry? It took me some time. But finally, my adult brain took over, and I gathered myself. I quickly packed and called the front desk to check out. I left the room, pulling my suitcase behind me. I caught a cab to the airport. I was able to get a flight in a few hours, so I sat thinking about the last 3 days. The plane landed. I took my carry-on, and I caught a cab home. It was late afternoon when I arrived. I stood outside the door with a great deal of trepidation. What was going to happen when I entered? I was shaking as I unlocked the door. I pushed it open, dreading what was on the other side. Whatever it was, I knew my life as I had known it was over, and a new phase was about to start, though it was not completely voluntary. I had let it happen. Not once throughout the whole time did I think of Harry until after they were done with me. I even remember begging for more after I came each time. Their stamina was incredible, especially for 2 of them, twin brothers, Tomas and Edgar. The feeling was incredible, for over an hour. They were putting on a show for the others. That experience made what was going to happen now with Harry worth it. I knew I would never like that again. I stepped inside the dark house. It was still light outside, but all the drapes had been pulled closed, and no lights were on. It was eerie and scary, and I reached for the light switch. "Leave it off," came a booming voice. I jumped back. I couldn't see anything as my eyes had not adjusted to the dark. "Why are you here?" came the booming voice again, shocked again. I had a tough time finding my words. I live here." "Are you sure? I thought you gave that up last night." Came the booming voice once again that I cowered into the corner by the front door, considering running out of it. No, I didn't give anything away." Trying to get on level ground. "You didn't give anything away? I thought for sure you did. You desecrated our wedding vows, and you gave our life away, not the woman I married. Why should I let you back in my house? I hope you are happy with yourself now." The booming voice mellowed, and I heard sobbing in the dark. I stood frozen, unable to move, talk or think, as what Harry had said sunk into my confused brain. The sight sent a cold shiver down my back. My words caught in my throat as I stepped toward him. "Harry, what are you doing with your gun? I have been considering if my life is worth living now that my wife has given herself away, and I no longer know if I love her or if she loves me." His voice cracked as he uttered the words. "Oh God, no, Harry, I love you so much. I did not willingly do what I did last night. I was forced initially, then my brain took over, and I could not stop what was happening. I must admit, that was incredible, but there was no emotion, no love, no you, so it was just physical. God, Harry, I love you so much. I was just on a walk, and it just happened. I am so sorry. What I saw was you begging for those. I have never seen you like that. You were not the woman I married and loved, and I didn't know who you were." I fell on the sofa. Harry had seen me and watched. Oh God, how? The lights suddenly came on. I squinted as Harry moved beside me on the sofa. My mind was spinning, and I sobbed uncontrollably, shaking violently, and completely breaking down. He gathered me in his arms and kissed my forehead. I watched Miriam as she told me her story. Her eyes filled with tears, with an occasional drop sliding down her cheek. I reached up, wiping them away and caressing her cheek. I was so touched by what she was telling me, and I could feel her pain as she shared her betrayal, which was so much like mine that I took her hand in mine. How did it end? Miriam, I need to know. Miriam looked at me and smiled, taking a deep breath and the last swallow of her mimosa that we had been talking for over an hour, and I felt hopeful, and I knew I was not the only woman this had happened to. The next part was the most important to me. How did they repair their marriage? Tell me, Miriam, please tell me. Stacy, that night was probably not as hard as yours is going to be. Harry and I had been married a few years and in love longer than that, so Harry was very forgiving. You only have 3 days married. So I think that will be harder to get through. Once I calmed down, Harry told me he had gone looking for me, and someone told him about that shack. They had seen a woman go in hours ago but had not returned. Harry went to the door, but it was locked. He heard my voice, so he knew it was me. He found a window where he could see and hear better. I started sobbing, ashamed of what I had done or allowed to happen. I knew I had hurt Harry and only hoped he could forgive me. I swore I would be loyal to him every minute for the rest of our lives together. Harry accepted my apology and explanation, but there were conditions. I had to sign a post-nuptial agreement cutting me out of everything if I cheated on him. It was the same for him as well. The tests came back with me having chlamydia. I was treated immediately and took a course on the morning after drugs for 3 days. I was clear in 2 months. From then on, we have been 100% true to each other for well over 20 years. I looked at Miriam, wondering if I would be able to tell my story to a young woman in 20+ years that I sat back and closed my eyes, thinking of what would happen when I got home. I will check into the Hilton and try to figure out how to save my very short marriage. Stacy, be 100% honest with Johnny, pledge your love and devotion. Do anything he requires you to do and never, never waver. That is the only way Johnny will learn to trust you and be able to love you unconditionally. I know you love Johnny, so that is the only honest advice I can give you. There is no magic pill to recover from this type of thing, and it will take a lot of demanding work, mostly on your part. Then the announcement came across that we were landing. I turned to Miriam. Thank you for sharing your story. It has given me hope that we can survive what I have done. I only hope Johnny will let me make this up to him and forgive me over time. I don't know what to do now. Miriam looked at me. Stacy, there are 3 things you have to do right away. 1. You must get tested for STDs immediately and take a 3-day course of morning after pills. 2. You must be strong and repent to Johnny for what you did. Leaving out no details if he wants to hear it. Then take any punishment he issues, proving to him he is your man, your only man. 3. You must give Johnny babies as soon as he lays with you again. Then you will know you are his woman again. The plane stopped at the gate, and we both started to exit the aircraft. I gathered my carry-on and followed Miriam off the plane. Once in the terminal, I turned to Miriam and pulled her to me, hugging her tightly. I whispered, "Thank you so much. I have hope now." I quickly turned and walked away. I walked through the terminal to baggage claim, then to the hotel shuttle pickup. I found the Hilton shuttle and got on board. It filled with a few more people and departed. We made the short ride to the hotel. I got checked in and went to my room. Now what? I needed a shower. But before I could do that, I had to find a test lab for my STD test. I had to clean my body as best I could. I found both locations nearby. I called and made an appointment in an hour. I texted Johnny my text, "Johnny, I am at the Hilton. I know you don't want to see me, but I desperately need to see you. I will not touch you. I just need to see you, be in the room with you. I love you so much, and I am so ashamed of what I did. I apologize for being so weak that I could not stop what happened and enjoyed it so much. I am being tested in an hour and taking the morning after pills starting today. Please, Johnny, I love you, I love you. Please let me come home. I pressed send and left for my testing appointment. I had an Uber waiting to take me to the STD lab. 15 minutes we showered, and Johnny left me until I was clean. We kissed goodbye like the end of a date, and the door closed. Epilogue.my test results came back with a clean slate the following afternoon. I called Johnny with the news. He was at my door in less than an hour. Johnny was nicely dressed and brought my little black dress. My man was back. He took me to Bartholomew's, my favorite steak house. It was a date. We had drinks, a great dinner, and a few dances in the bar. We came back to the hotel. It was beautiful. We slept in each other's arms. The week was a repeat every day and night. We would order room service. After the fourth day, I wanted to go home, so we checked out and went to our home. It was glorious, just as it was always supposed to be. Our life moved on, and 2 months later, I was pregnant with our first child. I had followed Miriam's rules and given Johnny a baby, proving that mistakes can be made and remedied if true love exists. It does. 81 days later, we held another wedding in our church for 21 family members and our closest friends. It was a short service, no glitz or glamour, just a reaffirmation of our lifelong vows. We never explained why we had the second wedding service. Just as we never spoke of the 3 days after our original wedding. Those days are a fleeting memory, never to be spoken about or relived. But as much as I try, the feelings and images in my mind will never go away, and I draw upon them. Sometimes Johnny took a big new job in Kansas City, so we relocated. Over the next few years, we added another girl and a boy to make 3, and that was enough, so we stopped. God, I love my man.